things first. These not so tight, top just a little bit. If the top's too tight, it's going to ride up on his chin. It's not going to fit right, you're going to have leaks. Okay, let's get start with you guys. Fits it does. Decountable dry suit. Divers in scuba mode. Line tended. Single diver. Okay, nice big stride. Okay, hold your nose. There we go. Yep. Where? Is set up properly. He's going to check his buoyancy. He's going to work with his exhaust valve on his upper left arm as you guys have been instructed. He's also going to check for leaks. He's got dry gloves on. No leaks permitted on this dive. So he's checking his hands for leaks, and he's going to descend a couple feet into the water column and check his mask for leaks. Present, or what we suspect is light contamination, and we're going to conduct the decon operation off the back of this vessel. Will be set up into a zone system. John McBurney is on the back. John is going to provide the initial gross decontamination of the diver. If you need a ladder, a suitable ladder, and an area in the back of the boat to safely do this. If you had rough conditions, this is not something you want to be doing on the back of your vessel. So John is line tending the diver up to the surface. Where John is standing is still the exclusion zone or the hot zone. This is where anything the diver has on him may wind up on the back of the vessel. The area that he's working in and the rear of the vessel is considered the exclusion zone. Fins off in order to come up the ladder. With this equipment, you got to make sure the diver is up there. You have to help the diver. John did an air check. You got to check his air. Depending on how long the diver's been down. He has a finite amount of air because he's in scuba mode. This is not surface supply. So the pace of your decon is also may be affected by his rate of his air consumption. If the diver is tired or if he's hot, he may be breathing more air. Hose. He's knocking off any loose sediment off the diver. There's two important things to remember when he's doing this. One is around the mask and the other is around the wrist seals. He does not want to push any sediment inside the diver's mask. So he's deconning him towards his face and towards his elbows. Because of our contamination, this time we're using a antimicrobial soap. In this case, Dawn, which of course has gotten a lot of press for its uses with removing oil from waterfowl and birds. It's not harmful to the diver's equipment, but it does help as the surfactants in it will help to lift any contaminants, especially organics or any oils, off of the suit. The objective is to wash them off the suit, the diver. And primarily in this step, initially he's getting the sediments off. In this step, he's also hoping to wash anything that may be clinging to the diver's equipment. Remember, some of this equipment is, for example, the BC. There are some units that are easy to decon. This BC, if you're going to reuse, this BC may not be 100% deconable. So some of this equipment we want to reuse for the next diver in the water. So that equipment will be isolated in the rear of the vessel in the contaminant reduction zone. A good wash on them, get off around the wrinkles. And the important thing is, again, especially around the head, the mask, and the wrist seals, because for that diver to come out of his suit, those two things need to need to come off first. If we had like I said, this vessel is large enough for decontamination. If we had a more serious situation, you would have to decide whether you have the equipment and the personnel and the size of vessel suitable. If you had, in a worse situation, more contamination, you could also consider a second vessel for conducting in your clean zone, and you could have your decon set up on your other vessel. You just got to remember things like surface supply, your air supply has always got to be on the same vessel as the diver. But if you were in an extensive operation, you could run a small, another boat in order to have enough room to make things work. And you can almost tell by listening to the diver whether how he's doing, whether he's laboring.
I need some paper towels. Right down on the deck. Oh,
if you're short on air, you're going to have to just, well, you're not going to sacrifice, obviously, and go below, 500 pounds in order to get a decon done. But the important thing is, if you clean the head off properly, you'd be able to get that mask off soon enough to be able to get it off. And then the other things, can come afterwards. John's removing his mask, and if you'll notice, there's some water on his seal latex hood, and that water accumulates around underneath the edge of the mask. It's important to wipe that clean so it's not dripping in the diver's face. Remember, the worst exposure a diver could have would be any kind of inhalation or ingestion through the, through the ears, nose, mouth. You don't want it in his eyes. Notice the level of protection with the tender who's conducting the decon. The main thing here is some of the splash hazard. So you're not decontaminating other personnel on the vessel. Now remember, this equipment right now may still have some residual contamination on it. So this is not equipment that's going to go into the clean zone. This is going to stay in the rear of the vessel. It's changed amongst the divers. You want each diver to have their own AGA mask at a minimum. Their own dry suit is nice, but the most important thing is their own AGA mask, mainly for hygienic purposes. Much of the other equipment can be reused by the next diver, so your decontamination, your contamination factor of your equipment does not accumulate over the course of the day. These dry gloves, in this case, just using electrical tape over a rubber ring to help secure them. And you can use some various hazmat gloves. The gloves that nitrile gloves that Mel has on can be used as well. You don't have to use a specialized dry glove for this type of diving, as long as they're secure and they don't leak. Considerations of the gloves, those gloves, you might want to clean them or reuse them. Something like the nitriles probably be a single-use glove. Getting the harness, since we are line tended, using a safety harness on the diver. In case we had to pull him out of the water, and
what the winch is for if you had to pull him out?
Yeah, you could. The diver has a pair of latex gloves on underneath his outer gloves. Just in the event his hands were to touch his suit. So right now, Mel is assisting the assisted the hood off the diver. The neck seal, as you well know, the neck seal is the tough component to get off. Now the suit's coming off inside out, so the diver's none of the personnel are contacting the outside of the suit.
Except for me, because I'm already dirty.
Well, yeah, John's a dirty guy. Now the important thing is to assure the comfort of the diver with fluids and shade. Make sure everything is squared away, and again, the diver's equipment remains in the rear of the vessel, whether it's his fins, his suit, his BC, harnesses, for consideration for either further decon or for use by the next diver.